What if the way you think and feel today isn't just about your choices, but also the ancient stories written into your brain over millions of years? And what if, despite all those stories, you still hold the power to rewrite the ending? Right now, as you sit here breathing, your brain is carrying a lineage older than fire, older than words. Deep in its folds lie instincts from creatures who crawled through swamps, emotions from ancestors who first walked upright, and thoughts shaped by languages that didn't exist just a few thousand years ago. But here's the miracle. You're not just a product of that past. You are the artist holding the chisel. Every breath, every moment of stillness, every act of love or awareness can carve new pathways in the architecture of your mind. This video isn't just an explanation, it's an invitation to journey inward, to reshape your brain and to awaken the quiet power within you. So get comfortable. This is more than just knowledge. It's a meditation in words, a remembering, a return. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine holding the human brain in your hands. It's warm, soft, and strangely familiar. This organ, barely 3 pounds in weight, is the seat of your thoughts, your fears, your creativity, your love. But beneath all its complexity, the brain is a layered story, written across eons of time. At its core, deep within the folds, lies the reptilian brain. This is the most ancient part of you. Scientists believe it emerged more than 300 million years ago. It's responsible for instinct, survival, fight or flight. It doesn't think or wonder, it just reacts. When you feel that sudden jolt of fear, that primal impulse to protect or retreat, that's your reptilian brain speaking. It kept your ancestors alive in caves and jungles, and it still beats quietly beneath your everyday life. Wrapped around that, we find the emotional brain, often called the limbic system. It arrived roughly 100 million years ago. This is where feelings live. Grief, joy, attachment, the desire to belong. It's what drives you to comfort a crying child, to long for connection, to weep at beauty or heartbreak. It's the part of your brain that remembers how something made you feel long after the facts have faded. This emotional layer is deeply human, yet shared with many other mammals. It's ancient but tender, powerful but soft. And then, much later, just about 5 million years ago, the cerebral cortex began to develop. This is the outer layer, the wrinkled part you often see in diagrams. It's where imagination, problem solving, reflection, and language are born. And language, oral and written, only appeared in the last 15,000 years or so. That's the blink of an eye, cosmically speaking. And yet, it changed everything. Because of this thin outer shell, you can ponder your own thoughts. You can wonder why you feel what you feel. You can tell stories, build cities, create art, make meaning. You can choose. The cerebral cortex gives you agency. It lets you reflect on your fears instead of just reacting to them. It allows you to sit quietly and witness your own mind at work. But here's the beautiful paradox. All 3 brains still exist within you, not as separate entities, but as a single woven intelligence. Sometimes they align, other times they pull in different directions. You might feel fear from your reptilian brain, sadness from your emotional brain, and a desire to understand from your cortex all at once. This internal tension is not a flaw, it's the fullness of being human. When you overreact in traffic or lash out in anger, It's not because you're broken, it's because your reptilian or emotional brain took the wheel. When you freeze during a difficult conversation or feel overwhelmed by uncertainty, it's not weakness. It's ancient wiring doing what it was designed to do, protect you. But you're not stuck there. That's the true gift of human consciousness, awareness. You can watch the fear arise, observe the reaction unfold, and then breathe, reflect, choose differently. This is where mindfulness enters the story. Because even though those ancient parts of your brain are strong, they are not in control unless you give them the reins. Every moment of conscious breathing, every time you pause before reacting, every act of stillness is a quiet revolution. You are training your brain to soften, to listen, to heal. And the more you do it, the more those neural pathways strengthen. Like trails in a forest, the more often you walk them, the clearer they become. This isn't poetry, it's neuroscience. It's how the brain works. You are literally sculpting your inner world with each mindful choice. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or stuck in a pattern, remember this. Your brain is not just reacting, it's remembering. It's calling up ancient instincts. But you, here in this moment, have the power to teach it something new, to offer it presence instead of panic, compassion instead of judgment, stillness instead of chaos. You are not just a thinker, you are a sculptor, and your medium is the mind. Let this knowledge be more than just information. Let it be the beginning of something deeper, a practice, a path, a way home to yourself. Because you are not the sum of your instincts, you are the space in which they rise. You are the witness, the artist, the breath behind the thought. And from here, everything can change. Imagine for a moment that your life is a house. The structure, its beams and blueprint might have been passed down through generations. Your height, color of your eyes, your natural temperament, these were built into the frame. But what you place inside the house, how you decorate it, what kind of light filters through the windows, that's shaped by your experiences. Your brain works much the same way. Yes, it carries your genes, your ancestral code. But it's also shaped by every breath you've taken, every word you've heard, every moment of joy, of fear, of tenderness. You were not born finished. You were born becoming. Science tells us that genes act like a blueprint for the architecture of the brain. They guide the way your neurons connect, the way your thoughts flow, and how your mind develops in early life. But those genes are not set in stone, they are responsive. They wait for your life to speak to them. This is where epigenetics comes in a field of science that shows how your environment, emotions, and experiences can literally change how your genes are expressed. Imagine your genes as the sheet music and your life as the musician. The notes are there, but the way they're played, the tempo, the emotion, the emphasis, that's up to you and the life you live. Stress, trauma, love, compassion, all of these can influence the way your brain wires itself. A child raised with warmth and safety builds different connections than one raised in chaos or fear. But here's what's miraculous. Even if your early experiences were hard or limiting, your brain retains the ability to change at any age. This is what we call neuroplasticity, the capacity of your brain to rewire itself in response to new patterns. You are never stuck. You are never too old or too damaged or too late. Your brain is listening to your breath, your choices, your attention, It responds to repetition, to care, to stillness. Think of the first time you practiced a new skill, playing the piano, riding a bike, meditating. At first it felt foreign, difficult, maybe even frustrating. But with time and practice, it became smoother, more natural. That wasn't just your mind adjusting. That was your brain physically building new circuits, strengthening pathways, like laying down fresh roads. And so, when you return again and again to mindfulness, to compassion, to self-reflection, you are shaping your inner world. You're not forcing change, you're inviting it. With gentleness, with breath. This understanding is echoed not only in science but in ancient wisdom traditions. In yogic philosophy, the inherited patterns of the mind are called samskaras. They are like grooves formed by habit, memories, impulses, ways of thinking that repeat again and again. These samskaras shape your perception of the world. But yoga also teaches us that we are not bound by them. Through deliberate practice called karma, we can plant new seeds, we can water different thoughts, we can become conscious of how we act, how we speak, how we react, and slowly shift those patterns toward freedom. Karma, in this sense, doesn't mean fate. It means action, intentional, aware action. The kind that arises when you pause, breathe, and choose from love instead of fear. So what does this look like in real life? It means the moment you catch yourself in self-judgment and choose to soften instead of criticize, you are changing your brain. It means the moment you turn towards someone in empathy instead of blame, you are rewriting the story of your neurons. It means the moment you sit quietly in the morning, feeling the rise and fall of your breath, you are training your brain to dwell in peace. And each time you return to that practice, the effect deepens. The music changes. The light inside the house grows softer, steadier, warmer. This is not just theory, it's lived truth. People who have endured unimaginable pain, who grew up in trauma, who carry deep sorrow, have used this truth to heal, to rewire, to awaken. Not overnight, not with perfection, but with devotion, patience, and heart. You are not your wiring. You are the one who witnesses the wiring. You are the one who can choose again and again to show up differently. Let this truth settle deep within you. You are not defined by what you've inherited. You are shaped by what you cultivate. And you can begin again right here in this breath. You are the gardener. Your brain is the soil. What will you plant today? There is a moment that arrives in the stillness of deep meditation, a feeling, not of learning something new, but of remembering something ancient, a knowing that has always been there, beneath the noise of thought, beneath the tension of survival, waiting like a quiet flame at the center of your being. This is the wisdom that traditions like yoga and Buddhism have spoken of for thousands of years. And now, in a beautiful and unexpected turn, modern neuroscience is beginning to echo their truth. Let's begin with what Eastern philosophy has always taught, that the mind is both the source of suffering and the key to liberation. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the very first teaching is clear. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. The goal is not to suppress thought or emotion, but to observe it gently and with awareness, until the illusion of separation fades and the true self emerges. This illusion has a name, avidya, ignorance. But not ignorance in the sense of being uneducated. Avidya is the mistaken belief that we are separate from others, from the world, from the divine. It's the whisper in your mind that says, I am alone. I am not enough. I must protect myself from the world. Avidya turns the world into a battlefield. But when the veil of ignorance lifts, the battlefield becomes a garden. And what lifts the veil? According to yogic teachings, it is practice, meditation, self-inquiry, mindful breathing, ethical living, a conscious turning inward. These are not just spiritual exercises, they are daily invitations to remember who you truly are. Now, here's where it gets extraordinary. Neuroscience, studying the physical brain, is beginning to confirm what these traditions have known intuitively. When we engage in mindfulness, compassion, gratitude, and loving awareness, we don't just feel better, we change the very wiring of the brain. Studies have shown that meditation strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus, empathy, and decision-making, while calming the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. In other words, every time you choose stillness over reaction, every time you breathe instead of lashing out, you're reshaping your brain toward peace. The brain is plastic, alive, and waiting for your direction. It doesn't need force, it needs consistency. A few minutes of awareness each day, practiced with sincerity, can become the architect of your future self. Eastern traditions have names for this process. In yoga, it is svadhyaya, self-study. In Buddhism, it is vipassana, clear seeing. Both point toward the same goal, liberation through knowing the self. The self is not your personality, your history, or your preferences. The self is that which observes it all. The one who watches your thoughts rise and fall. The one who notices when you are angry, who witnesses your joy, who feels your breath. That witness is timeless. It is the thread that connects you to all life. And neuroscience tells us this too. When people engage in long-term contemplative practice, their brains begin to reflect traits like equanimity, compassion, resilience, and inner stability. These aren't just spiritual ideas, they are measurable states of the nervous system. It turns out that the path to enlightenment is also the path to well-being. But there's more. Modern science now understands that the heart and gut also have neural networks, tiny brains of their own. When yogis spoke of heart wisdom or gut instinct, they weren't being poetic. They were pointing to the profound intelligence of the entire body. We are not machines, we are symphonies. So when you sit in meditation, when you feel your breath, when you send compassion to someone who hurt you, you are not just practicing kindness. You are tuning your nervous system. You are aligning your brain with your heart, your breath with your biology. And when you do this regularly, you begin to live from a different place. A place not ruled by fear or desire, but by clarity, gentleness, and presence. The beauty of this convergence between ancient wisdom and modern science is that it invites everyone to the table. Whether you are drawn to spiritual practice or scientific research, the message is the same. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are a being of incredible capacity, capable of reshaping your inner world through awareness and love. This is not magic, it is not mysticism. It is the miracle of being alive in a time when the truths of the heart are finally being seen by the eyes of science. So don't worry if your mind is busy. Don't judge yourself if you feel lost or disconnected. That too is part of the process. What matters is the return, again and again, back to the breath, back to the body, back to the self. In doing so, you honor both the wisdom of the sages and the knowledge of the scientists. You walk a path that is as old as silence and as new as this very moment. And in that path, healing begins. There is a silent ache that lives in almost every human being, the sense that we are alone. Even when surrounded by people, even in moments of success or beauty, there's often a quiet whisper inside that asks, am I truly connected? Do I belong? This is not a flaw. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the natural result of how our minds have been conditioned to see the world. We have been taught consciously and unconsciously that we are separate from each other, separate from nature, separate from the divine. This illusion of separateness, known in yogic philosophy as avidya, is the root of almost all suffering. When we believe we are alone, we feel we must defend ourselves. We compare, we compete, we isolate. We begin to fear the world and our place in it. We try to control everything around us just to feel safe. And yet, this belief, the belief in isolation, is an illusion. It's like standing in a vast ocean and believing you are just a drop of water. The truth is, you are the ocean itself, moving in the form of a wave. The idea of the separate I is just a temporary shape, a passing ripple. Every spiritual tradition has pointed to this truth in its own way. The Buddha taught that the self is empty of separation. Jesus spoke of oneness with the Father and with one another. The Upanishads declared, Tat tvamazi, you are that. And modern science, interestingly, is starting to echo the same song. Neuroscience shows us that when we practice compassion, when we feel connection, when we see ourselves in others, our brain lights up in ways that promote healing, regulation, and inner peace. It turns out that connection isn't just a feeling, it's a biological need. We are wired for belonging, but this realization is not something we access through intellect alone. We need to feel it, to sense it in our bodies, to experience it in silence and presence. This is why meditation matters. When you sit in stillness and begin to observe your breath, you start to notice that the boundary between me and everything else is not so solid. The air you inhale was exhaled by the trees. The thoughts in your mind were shaped by voices, by memories, by language you did not invent. Even the cells of your body are a blend of ancient stardust and microbial life. You are not separate. You never were. In meditation, one powerful visualization can help dissolve this illusion. Picture roots extending from your body deep into the earth. Feel how the ground supports you, how it holds you without condition. Then imagine a golden thread connecting you to every living being, animals, plants, ancestors, even those you've never met. This thread does not bind, it connects. It reminds. As you breathe, feel that golden thread pulse with each inhale and exhale. Let it remind you that your joy touches others, your healing ripples outward, Your presence matters not just for you, but for the whole. Another practice is to bring someone to mind, someone you love, and wish them well. Then slowly expand that circle. Include someone neutral, then someone you struggle with, then all beings. Whisper, even silently, may all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. This is not just poetry. It is a rewiring of the mind, a quiet revolution of the heart. When we practice this, something begins to soften. The tight grip of me versus you starts to loosen. The fear of the other begins to fade. And in its place grows something deeper than knowledge, a felt sense of unity. And yet, let us be gentle with ourselves. The illusion of separateness is powerful. It has been reinforced for generations in our schools, our systems, even in our stories. It will not vanish overnight. But each time we choose awareness over fear, each time we return to the breath, we are pulling back the curtain, we are coming home. This return is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a sacred remembering. You may forget. That's okay. You may get caught in the trance of separateness again. That's human. What matters is that you notice and that you return. Return to the present moment. Return to the breath. Return to the knowing that you are not alone, you are not broken, and you are not separate. You are a thread in the great tapestry of life. You are a note in a cosmic song. And your melody matters. And as you live from this truth, something extraordinary happens. Suffering begins to dissolve. Not because pain disappears, but because you stop carrying it alone. Joy deepens. Compassion arises naturally. Life begins to feel less like a fight and more like a flow. This is the great healing. The healing of remembering who we truly are, not isolated minds, but radiant expressions of the same light. And when enough of us remember, the world itself begins to shift. If something within you stirred while listening, a sense of remembering, a softening of breath, a quiet pause in the noise, then honor that feeling. It's not just an emotion. It's the beginning of returning to yourself. You don't need to figure it all out today. You don't have to force change. Just keep showing up, keep breathing, keep noticing. That's where transformation begins, not in the grand moments, but in the gentle ones. If this video offered you something, a sense of clarity, peace, or even a question worth exploring, please take a moment to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next guided meditation or reflective journey. Each one is crafted with care to help you come home to yourself again and again. Share this video with someone who may be quietly struggling. You never know whose heart might be waiting to hear that they are not alone. And if you feel called, leave a comment below. Share what resonated, share your questions. Let this be a space not just for content but for connection. You are not just watching a video, you are part of a field of awareness that is growing with every breath, every intention, every act of healing. Thank you for being here.